status, topics, demos. Demos, who has demos? I think Antoine has 2 demos today.
Not really.
What?
Really small ones.
What do you say?
Really small demos.
Oh, you have some then. Let's see. After. You don't have to. I was just kidding. I didn't have any idea about that. So maybe Antoine, I have some updates. Topics, questions, nothing special. We'll also talk about Net 5 branch. 1 second. I shouted, but they didn't hear me. Demos. Let's check the repositories. Orchard 1. So on Orchard 1, so there was this PR that was reverted because there was an issue, but then I think we reviewed the code, and this is the new version of the model binder, which should fix the exception that we found during the review. So that's good. Okay, new file. And that's it. New model binder for Booleans for the remember me checkbox. Then on this one. So last week we were the 8th. So if I go back there, fixed typo, decouple in sitemap documentation. Okay, bump yargs-parser, depend okay. Add missing page link in documentation. Okay. How to set up Azure AD, good. Update taxonomy documentation. Update Planet Clear as a contributor, include ContentMetadata in block category taxonomy. Yeah, just to display that. It was missing some unfiled issue. Bump to 3.18, which is a security update on .NET version. Okay. Just again, I keep saying that this should not matter. The SDK version should not matter in this case. Well, actually, it matters in this case. So I didn't say anything because we will build with the runtime that ships with it. So that's good. And this line is not called. Actually, that's interesting in this case because on the Travis script, we don't load an explicit version of .NET. Okay. So this is interesting. So we don't load a specific version, which means this SDK comes with the newest runtime for the .NET Core and the ASP.NET runtime. This one, this line is mimicking that, but just in case we don't have the correct version from AppBayor. And here it's commented out, which means we are getting the version from AppBayor. We do display which version is used when we do a build, just to be sure. But it doesn't mean that at the moment we updated that, we have the correct latest version. And if we are releasing anything as self-contained, then it means we are shipping an older runtime version, an ASP.NET version. And I think that might be the case with the Docker image, maybe. I don't think we released the runtime otherwise. I need to check. But yeah, that might have no impact. Well, this change has no impact, but we might, if we don't change the script, we might be shipping some non-secured versions of the runtime. If we are doing it as self-contained, let me check quickly. Travis, not Travis, Orchard core repository. And if
I don't think the Docker file's building self-contained.
Yeah, okay, good. So let's check. And also that and other things I'm not sure. So in this case, release, no, that's fine. We just build locally. And you say, and for the Docker file,
It's using an ASP.NET container, so I don't think it's building a self-contained.
This is the Windows here, and here the Docker file, which is here, is doing. Yep, this is using the correct thing. So that means if people just rebuild their image, they will get the new version. It doesn't matter. So we don't have anything to do. Also interesting is that we might be able to create a smaller image from that by using multi-step build, like use the SDK to build and then use just the required components for ASP.NET and just self-contained deploy. But in this case, we will have the issue. So I think we can keep it this way. Yeah, it's light enough. Okay, so there is no issue. Just to check. ChallengeOrForbid in API controllers as suggested by Kevin. This is the correct way to do it in the APIs. So I assume it's the scheme that it's answering to. Interesting. Okay, thank you, Antoine. Useless shell settings direct property. Okay. Prevents building a shell from an outdated descriptor. Okay, fixing a bug apparently. Serilog docs. Update getting started, templates, documentation, just a typo. Fix sitemap checkboxes. Oh, you need to set the two of them. Okay. Read only and disable. Link to GitHub discussions in contributing. Okay. So don't use Stack Overflow, use GitHub discussion. Fix media app icons being rendered while hidden. Okay, nothing to do with the bug that we could not see any folder.
No, this was the I've got 500 folders and it's a little bit slow because of Font Awesome.
Say yes, okay.
So this stops Font Awesome rendering quite so many empty icons.
Upgrade package dependencies. So what are we upgrading? Storage blobs, MailKit, MIMEKit. Okay. Update Markdown package and gulp rebuild. Then Markdown package and gulp rebuild. Bootstrap here because of the log file, which has been updated also. And this one.
Yeah, I was wondering why each time the Cranberry plugins were regenerated with a different version, but exactly know why.
Yeah. Resource packages and gulp rebuild. Okay, now it's consistent. Create those packages. Okay. More updates. Now allows GetSettings to be safer. 2 concurrent dictionaries in this case for shell context and shell settings. One second again. Too loud. Allow GetSettings to be safer. Upgrade GraphQL. So what is this one? Prevent rendering same script multiple times by naming. Oh, yeah, because it was rendered to. Okay, I saw the PR. It was called too many times. So here the filter is fixed. So it just renders that thing. Yeah, ID in our class. GraphQL NPM dependencies. Okay, minor update. Same. Refactor. Ooh. So we talked about, that's the one we talked about.
Yeah, we talked about this a while ago, and I got updated to taking the feedback.
Yeah, so the idea is that I screwed up when I created the get by alias being too generic and too over-engineered, where you had to pass the custom. An alias can be anything, like slug, like alias, like content item ID, and things like this. And we were using this one. But what people do is that first there is, when you do by alias, you think, oh, that's the IAlias stuff or the alias aspect. I don't remember which one. But no, not that. Yes, also, but not just that. So that's confusing. And then what actually they want to do usually is handle, well, is the alias itself. And they forget about prefixing the alias. So now it's explicit. There is the slug, handle, and alias. Honestly, I'm still confused because is alias the alias and is handle anything? Or is handle the alias? Slug is slug for the auto route. Fine. But reading that, I don't know which one to use, which one is using the prefix and which one is not using the prefix. Which one is generic and not generic. So it's kind of sad.
Alias is using the alias specifically. And I think the problem and the confusion came between the alias part and the idea of an alias or a handle. So if you get it by handle, then you pass in, and this is for backwards compatibility really, you pass in what kind of handle you have, whether it's an alias or a slug. And if you just wanted to get it directly by its slug, just use get by slug.
I was confused because in Shopify, what they call handle is what we call alias. Well, it's more like what they call handle is what we call slug. It's like there is a full shift. Okay. So alias is alias and handle is whatever you want. Like a slug. If you want a slug, you just type this one and use the by slug. Okay. Breaking everyone, right?
No, it doesn't break anyone.
But if you used to call alias so now by alias would check.
Okay, so at one point we renamed.
Oh, we were already on handle. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
And that was kind of probably about maybe 6 months ago or something. So this may bake some people from say beta 2, for example. But
so I screwed up, then we changed it and it was still not good. So now it's okay. Now there is no more genericity. Okay, handle is still handle, but now there is alias and slug on top of handle because we already renamed this one. Okay, good. I forgot that. Good. And you also renamed the implementations to make more sense. So now alias auto route is implementing iContent alias. Now it's implementing iContent handle. Content item ID alias provider. Now is content item ID handle provider. Okay, so handle is the generic one. Okay, that's what we said. An alias is specific to alias. It implements content handle, but with the alias prefix. All good. So get alias, you'll get the alias. Get slug, you get the slug. Media content security policy. Content security policy for media. So static file options is static file options, media option. Image share middleware option and static file options. So all of these.
So what this was for was the SVG issue that we had a while ago.
Okay.
Where you can include XXX attacks inside an SVG file.
So SVG files can contain JavaScript. So if we upload an SVG file with such JavaScript, then anyone pointing to this SVG file, to this media directly, will open it in the browser. And then the browser will just execute this JavaScript. So what it means is that anyone who has access to the media library in write mode, so the user of the admin, can upload malicious JavaScript inside an SVG, and then ask some of their colleagues or the same user at the same site to download this SVG file. Oh, click this link. And this JavaScript could contain some script that would get, for instance, the authentication cookie or simulate some action from the user to the admin. So it's dangerous. And to prevent that, this security policy will just say that to the browser, to Chrome, that no, you can't display this SVG directly. It needs to be in an image tag, for instance, and then it will solve the issue. That's correct?
This actually just stops it, stops anything loaded with this content security policy from rendering inline scripts. So the SVG will still load, but the browser will no longer execute the script.
That's better then.
That's better. And so it's only applied to files being served from the /media path. So it has no impact as such on anything else.
So if you want an SVG like this in your theme, in a module with script, that's fine, you can do that. But nobody, because as long as you have access to the file system, you can do anything, fine. Do whatever you want.
At that point, you're a developer and you have to be at least a little bit trusted.
File options, okay. Thank you. Replace or create an indexing admin menu tree when deploying. That's the idempotency of admin menu step. So you can replace an existing one and not just add a new one. Configure cookie lifetime for CulturePicker. Okay, app settings, cookie lifetime. Okay. Good. Avoid creating empty templates. What is an empty template? Template controller. Templates, I see. Empty template is in the template feature. If it's empty, it will tell you, well, it's empty. But what if I want it to be empty? What's the issue with that? Why would we invalidate that it's not empty?
I think somebody on GitHub had was trying to figure out how to use the feature and click the button and then just click saved without.
Hasn't solved anything, because if I type A and there is A, same thing, same issue. And what if I want an empty template? I can't anymore. Not sure that's what you want. So a solution would be to have versioning on that, or to have an undo button when we do that. But forcing it not to be empty, I think, so if tomorrow I find an issue, I understand why, but if tomorrow I find an issue saying, well, I typed something wrong and I clicked enter, and so how do you solve that? I mean, if I type space, that's fine, but if I type backspace, it's not fine. That's weird.
Can you also
I think
scroll down a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
There are other changes. Okay, notification.
If I type space, it's not allowed either.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't have an empty template anymore. I think that's a problem. I will find an issue saying I want to create an empty template. How do I do that? So I need to put a comment, an HTML comment, so it's not empty, but it won't display anything. Kind of weird.
It was when people were coming from the content type definition and clicking on the dropdown with the links, I want to create a detailed template or a summary template. And when they wanted to go back, sometimes they were creating an empty template without knowing it was created.
Okay, so it's not that you're losing the content of your template. It's like it's creating a template that will override the existing one, and you have no idea it's done.
Yeah.
There's an issue there as well, because it's the edit template hasn't been updated to include the validation.
What do you mean? Oh, the edited, yeah. But but if you listen to Antoine's comment, the issue is that the flow was you are in the part settings and you click on create a template for that. And then it opens in this case, it's creating a template. And the issue it's trying to fix is that you are creating an empty template by mistake that will overwrite the existing template on the file system. So it's just taking over, and you didn't realize that. And your content is just disappearing on the site because you clicked on create a template from the parts and you saved it and you didn't realize that. So I think I still don't like the solution here. I understand now that this thing is just to show you that, hey, you just created a template. Maybe this is not what you wanted to do. Yeah, it will cause more issues. That's the weird flow. It's a minor issue, I mean, but yeah, it's hard to understand why it's there, and that's why also you say it's just doing it on the create and not the edit, because I mean, then people will understand why I can create an empty. I can't create an empty, but I can edit it empty. So the solution to my new issue is that I will create one with the fake content and then edit it and remove the content, because this is really what I want to do. But that's weird. Then maybe just notification would have been sufficient, just to let people know, hey, you just created the template. And then if you messed up with that, I mean, sorry, don't click create template and then click save. That's your mistake, double mistake. And we told you, hey, you created a template. So I think the only solution, the only thing to do will just be to add a notification, just to let them know that they just created a template, if they didn't realize that they clicked save. We agree, right? If we don't click save, there is no template.
Yeah, you have to click save to actually do the creation.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Maybe we just need this.
Yeah, perhaps that, and perhaps because it is about when they're coming from that part definition into there, maybe there's just a little notification that could be shown at the top to say that you've come here from your part definition, you'll be returned there afterwards. Here's a template to create. Perhaps.
No, just saying that you successfully created a template. I mean, just to let them know that they created a template. They click save, they didn't click cancel. If they click cancel, it will go back to the same location, I assume. But they click cancel and not save. Like if you create a template and you save it, I mean, that's what happens. Just notification, and then yeah, it's like, oh, I clicked delete. This is not what I wanted to do. Well, you click delete and then confirm. So what did you mean by confirm delete? Yeah, so that and bonus feature will be to have a undo, like, you know, when the same way Chrome does that in the emails or whatever. So when, or even GitHub, I don't know, these apps, they do that all the time. So when we do an action in the notification, we would have a button says undo that will undo what you actually did, if it's possible. In this case, if you wanted to do that, what will make sense is that because it's creating a template, the undo will just delete this template. Kind of easy, right? We could just put a form action on this, a form or link, an unsafe URL link to the delete action of the template that just has been created. And then when you click undo, it will just undo it. So it will be kind of easy to do and nice solution to the full story here. Same thing with deleting drafts or things like this. Like if you delete a draft, or well, if you publish, you can say undo, and then it will go back to draft. Things like this. I like this pattern too. As long as we can recover, and it's easy to do that, we should do that. So in this case, I think my suggestion would be to just have a notification. Add PluralFormNotFoundException metadata. Okay. Oof. What is this? Maybe this file has been moved from somewhere. Indexer throws PluralFormNotFoundException if specified. PluralForm doesn't exist. Throws platform not supported exception. Okay, so the exception has more metadata. Okay. Maybe a pattern in ASP.NET. Okay, new PluralForm. Okay. Interesting. Okay. All good? Questions? No questions. So Antoine might have some small demos. Maybe we'll see. Dean, do you have demos?
No, nothing from me this week.
I use smiley face. Can't do smiley face. Oh, there is a win. What is the Windows key to do smiley face? Plus? No, that's magnifier. Oh my god. What is it? What is it? Can't do smiley face. I don't know. Okay, so sad. Antoine, demos?
Yes.
Okay. Too small for me.
So, okay, I created a PR, a pull request about page size of the pager in admin, and I implemented it on the tenants admin. So there is now on this page a
You can minimize this window, minimize it, remove it, whatever. Yeah.
There is now a drop-down list to select how many elements, how many items you want to display. So you see I changed to 25, and there is now 25 items displayed, and just 2 pages available. If you choose a number greater than the number of items, the pager will disappear, and you can come back to the default number of items. And when you are selecting it, it's just concatenating, appending a page size query string parameter in the URL.
Cool. I love it, but I hate pagers.
Yeah.
And question.
Mm-hmm.
Question. So, does it comply with the paging settings we have in the settings, in the options? Like, so we have a default page size, right, in the settings, and we have.
It should be improved because we need to see if we are using, as you said, the general settings of how we doing it on each page. For example, on tenants, on content items.
Yeah, so when you start with that, the people will want the same feature everywhere, right? It's good. I mean, it's good to be able to change the size of the page per page, and also dynamically, like, oh, now I want 10 and now I want 500, whatever. Today we have a general setting, so you can just set it once for every screen. The main concern I have is that at least it should comply with the max page size that we define in settings. So you can't have page size that is bigger than that, and check it also on the URL. So if someone types page size equals 1000, that we just revert back to the max one that we allow in the settings for perf reasons. Otherwise, you could get a site down because it will try to load all these number of content items and then maybe a memory exception or whatever, I don't know. So we need to take that into account.
Yeah. And this is using a data-URL attribute in the drop-down list, as it is done on the setup.js for the culture. So
I have no idea what it is. I'm sure when you show me, I will remember. What does it mean, data URL?
In the select, there is a data URL attribute.
You need something special. Well, how is that important?
Oh, it's not. It's just.
Oh, just the implementation detail that you want to explain how it's using. So it's just that from jQuery. When you click, so you have some script that when it's clicked, it will pick up this URL data and then follow this argument. Okay, that's it, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was wondering if it was a custom feature, custom behavior we have somewhere. And when you mentioned the setup, you mean we already have that in the setup? In which way?
Oh, in setup in the CulturePicker.
But we have paging there?
No, not paging, but a drop-down list. Tenants with non-initialized tenant.
I see the drop-down. Okay, I see the setup screen. Okay, CulturePicker. Now I get it. And then when you select, okay, so it's the same kind of implementation. Okay, good. Perfect. Oh, it's French. No, it's not. Still not French, dude.
No, just
it
this
is.
one.
No, it's English. It's two French words, but it's an English sentence. Oh my god. Yeah. So I still haven't fixed that. Interesting. So sad. Maybe because we just need to update the references to the package versions. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. That's the first demo. You have another one?
Second one about so what I call options, but the example I took, it's about media options that you can configure from app settings, but it could be useful to have a dynamic page to show exactly if it has been correctly set and what are the actual values you are using.
So here, I think you showed it to us during a triage. That's an interesting idea. I think we all agreed when we talked about it. It's a read-only version of the options that you can define in app settings. So, but hand-picked list, because you don't want to show the connection string here, but we want to show anything that might be interesting to understand what's happening on a site without having to go on the file system and open the app settings file or find whichever app settings contain this setting and understand, oh, I get it now. We don't accept the SVG files, so that's why we can't upload them. So it's an access. It's like accessing the logs of the system. Here it's accessing the configuration just to read them, to display them in the UI. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's quite useful to see things like the supported sizes, because I can never remember what I've set on my systems.
Correct.
That varies from time to time, and you need to know that as you're writing templates and so I think it's quite useful.
The kind of features you only know that you need it when you build websites.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have websites in prod and you're like, okay, I would like to have that. So that's why I don't know that we needed that. I don't build websites. So that's it. So and what we said also is that this is for the media, and this is totally fine to do that for other kind of options, as long as we organize them in a specific section and people know where to find them. Probably with the group ID, that would be nice to have the subsection to use the same technique as well. Maybe too much of extensibility, but yeah, just a menu item where we can put more pages like this. So, or tabs, will it make sense to have a single page and that people just create tabs on that?
There's too many options classes for the tabs, I think.
So pages, okay.
And a lot of them, probably the ones that we would show, would relate to things like media, so they'll categorize nicely under a media settings option.
Okay. Cool, very nice. If we could have two option classes, that will help people know where to put the third one and so on.
Yes.
Otherwise, if we just have one, they might also replicate the top page and things like this. So that's good to have two to bootstrap the people, yeah. Great, thank you. Cool. So what else now? Dean has an demo. Yeah, so updates, I did some things. It's been like 2 years, I haven't done anything. So I will share my screen. Small things, but nice things. So first, so if I open that, I assume there is no secret there. No, I will show on GitHub. Fluid. Fluid, so Sebastian has Fluid. I pushed an update this weekend. Pull request, adding, where did I put that? Pull request, commits. Oh, it's there in the documentation. You don't need to look at the implementation. I documented it. In the end, there is an index that shows custom filters. So I did the custom filters. I don't know why I did that. Yes, so I'm working on Crank a lot, and I'm using Fluid to generate templates. And at some point, I wanted to render a number correctly, and it will just render 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. Okay, and what I wanted to do is to be able to format it like an American number. And I'm like, how do I do that? Well, you can't in Liquid. So I'm like, okay, let's do that. And I think some people asked for being able to format as currency. We already had format date where we can use the .NET formats. So I made format number and format string. And these format things, they use the .NET format methods. So they are not standard in Liquid, but there is nothing in Liquid for that. So that's fine then. So format number, so whatever number or string, which is, so you can pass a string, and if you do format number, it will convert it to a number. And then here, if you don't say anything, it will just call toString with the current culture. So it will format the number here with the current culture. If you pass n, for instance, which means number in the standard numeric format strings, then it will use the number format, the default this number format, which is the one I showed you, but there are other format numbers like C for currency. For instance, for the currency, in this case, it will display $123.00. If it was euro, it will display 123. So if it was French, so if you are in currency and French culture, it will be 123, comma 00 space euro. Okay, so it's taking the culture into consideration. There is something I didn't document, but you can also pass a custom named parameter called culture if you want to force the culture to something else than the one of the current template context, which in Orchard should be the one of the current thread. So format numbers, and then all the formats that are standard and custom also. Okay, so all the formats you want. And then format string, which in this case you pass a string with a format inside, and you understand the syntax, which is the .NET one, and it's just string.format. And here you pass the different, so format string, and then the values 0, 1, and so forth. So in this case, hello world, and the number 1 as currency, which is the same format as here, and it will show up this way. And the nice thing with that is you can also define the padding, you can define the number of digits, all these options you can have in string format. So I think that will unblock lots of scenarios where we had to do weird algorithms in Liquid to format stuff where it's super easy in .NET. Okay. That's the first update, and I don't think it's on NuGet yet. I will push it on NuGet so we can update Orchard. I assume we want that in Orchard. It's good. The second thing I updated is not yet pushed because I found an issue, but it works. YesSQL. We talked about it on Thursday for those who were there. I had already started the branch and it works now. I have unit tests and they passed. Beautiful. Well, unit test pass. I haven't checked. No, they don't pass. but earlier it was because it was a packaged attribute that was missing. Well, so what I did is support for multi-filters on the same index. I forgot to type a word. Let me show you the unit test. So I created a new method on iQuery, which is called OR. So now you can do with an index, and before you could do with an index and again with an index. And it will actually add many filters on the same record of the index. With OR, you can do now filters on different inner joins of the same index, which means it will do unions of results with the two filters. So if you do, so if I look at this is an example in the, that was actually the one I wanted to show you. So this is a unit test that was already existing. That's why it's showing. Oh no, I just created it. Sorry. So what it does is there is a person identity index provider which will just map the first name and last name of each person on an index. So if I store Scott Enselman, Scott Guthrie, I will have Scott, one record with Scott, one record with Enselman, one record with Scott, one record with Guthrie. Okay. If without the OR, I do with person identity, it will issue a query that will be identity equals Enselman and identity equals Guthrie, which will return nothing. Okay. With the OR, it will do an inner join on person identity with a filter on that, and then another inner join with person identity with a filter on that. And in this case, I will get 2 persons. So it's like, give me any person whose person identity has a record Enselman, or a person identity has a record Guthrie. And then I will get 2 persons, okay? Guthrie and Enselman, 2 persons. And it wasn't possible to do before, and someone filed an issue, and it allows other scenarios that we talked about on Thursday that I'm currently testing, which is the other OR. And let me show you here. I'm trying to update the full text sample, where in this case it's querying documents by their words. So I want to get, if I have these documents, this is white fox, brown cat, pink elephant, white tiger. I'm creating an index of all the words pointing to the document, like white and fox point to this document, brown and cat point to this document. So now the idea is that give me all the documents that have white in it, or all documents that have brown in it. And the goal is to get this one, and this one. Before that, white, fox, pink will give me the results that have white and fox and pink, and there is none in this case. Okay, so that's an important feature that is currently added. All the unit tests pass for SQLite. I haven't checked for the rest. I hope the CI will do that, but as I worked on this scenario, I found an issue that I'm currently fixing. So that's the 2 updates that should allow for more features. Good. So other topics, questions, comments? No harvest so far, okay, if you wondered.
Probably worth talking about .NET 5 because we missed that.
Yes, .NET 5. So a few weeks ago, I think I suggested someone to create the .NET 5 branch, or I think I asked Chantieri if we had already, if what's still the .NET 5 branch we worked on like a long time ago. And then Antoine made it. So Antoine made a branch. AG, I think it's AG.
Oh no, hardcore. Not only.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm like, okay, that's weird. Hardcore, and this one will be easy to find them. AG. So many branches, AG. .NET 5. So Antoine fixed it. I'm not sure we talked about it at some point. There was an issue with some versions, so Antoine updated to the RC1. It's funny because it took me years to understand that the version of .NET, like when you say .NET 5, this 5.0.100 RC, this is the SDK version. The runtime has yet another version, and SPNet has yet another version, which don't match at all that. And Antoine got tricked by that. It's like you need a PhD to understand how the versions work. So is there a pull request for that? I think so, right? Let's try here. It's green. So the branch from Antoine works with RC1 .NET 5, and the build also runs the functional tests, which means everything works. Did you have to update the Lucene stuff or not? Because there was an issue with that, the build warning.
Not anymore.
So now it's working. Okay, that's weird. So no warning, or maybe there's a warning, but doesn't show up.
About identity.
So if you want to try Orchard on the .NET 5, that will work with that, and I assume there is not much changes. Documentation. What is that? Launch JSON. This is just the scripts. Here you did some. No, why? Why is that?
Before it was, I called it preview version. And I renamed it to ORC.
Yeah, I think there is you don't need to change anything there, right? You can just call it. You don't need this version. Or do you still need this version when you update that to that?
Yes. Data protection.azure storage.
It's still. I see. So sad. But yeah, nah. The words are. The SPNet conversion is that.
Mm-hmm.
Then this thing should be changed to something like data protection version, and put somewhere else if it doesn't match the SPNet version.
Or just do it direct in the project, because we don't need a variable for it there.
Well, not here, but in the dependencies. No? Dependencies files, maybe, like the other thing. And okay, nothing related. Okay. It's not related to .NET 5, right? Or is it?
I don't know. It was there was an error occurring.
That's interesting. This was obsolete in 3.1 and is removed in 5.0, so that makes sense. And this is its usage here, or its implementation. All the templates. So yeah, very limited number of changes, so that's good. Very good. And also this thing that we discovered that was not available anymore. By the way, well, this is something that also needs to change on the current version of Travis YAML, if it's not done already. I think we did that, didn't we? This file doesn't exist anymore. We need to change it, even if it's not .NET 5.0. And yeah, so that's good. So it works on 5.0. And ideally, I will be able to run some benchmarks. I had something working like this, but it got broken, and I need to fix it. And now it's working on 5.0. That will be easier for me to benchmark the difference between 5.0 and 3.1. And it's supposed to be faster. It's faster on everything, so it should also be faster on Orchard. I'd like to know how much. That's good. So if you want to try with 5.0, it's doable. There is no reason, but I'd say performance. There is no feature in 5.0 here that we'll use. But if you need to use some feature of 5.0 in your modules, then you need to upgrade to 5.0. And then the peak would be, well, we started Orchard with .NET 0.8, something like that. Now we haven't shipped, and it's .NET 5. I assume .NET 5 will be released maybe before we ship the final version of Orchard. So That's a good question. Should we jump to 5.0 then at that point? I assume it depends on when we ship, right? Or are there other dependencies that won't work with that, like OpenID or things like this? I assume everything works because it builds, so something to think
yeah,
about.
I mean, I think last year when 3 came out, we talked about releasing around that time. So
next year we ship 4.6.0. That's what you mean?
I was thinking maybe this year we could ship for something, but you know, maybe that's pushing it too far.
Yeah, I'm fine shipping with 3.1 so far and do another one for 5.0. At the same time, when 5.0 will be released, people will find issues, security bugs and stuff. So maybe not. Maybe it's good to stick. And also 3.1 is the LTS version. Maybe it's good to stick with 3.1 so far and wait for later for 5.0. I don't know. Or should we ship to? Nah, doesn't make sense to ship to targets. Well, technically, we could multi-target, and then when you deploy, you can choose which one you want. Or when you build, you can choose which one you want. We could target 3.1 and 5.0. That's doable with some if-defs and so on. So then people will have the choice. Packages will be hard because that we need. Yeah, we will need 2 packages because these are not. Yeah. Do we need 2 packages in this case? I'm not sure. Maybe we still need just 1 package, so that might still work. Interesting, just to see. Okay, all good. Questions, comments? Thank you, Antoine, for that. Super useful. Can I use it? All okay, all good. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you on Thursday or next week. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, bye.